Shabbos. Question: why do the 5 books of Moses ignore the world to come? When it wants to tell us about reward for doing the right thing, it tells us about reward in this world. If you will do this week's Parshat tells us, if you keep my statutes and you learn Torah and you do mitzvahs, I will give you the rain in its time. I'll give you plenty. I'll give you peace. You will stand upright. All kinds of practical blessings in this world. It doesn't tell us about the amazing beauty of the world to come, something that most other religions do focus on, and even Judaism does in terms of the Talmud, in terms of the Mishnah, even the prophets do mention it. But in the 5 books of Moses, which is kind of the core of Judaism, it doesn't hint, it doesn't mention it, might hint to it, but it's not clear from it at all. So why is that so? So there are a number of answers given. I'll share a number of them with you. Answer number one is that in order to encourage people to keep Torah mitzvahs, you have to speak things that they relate to. The world to come is something that's really beyond our capacity and understand. It's a world without a body. So that's already something we can't relate to, a soul without a body. And so therefore, it won't be necessarily enticing to everyone about some kind of world that's way off, that it's not tangible. So the Torah wants to tell us that you're going to get reward in a tangible way. In a similar fashion, another answer tells us that just like when you want to encourage a child to learn, you don't tell them the value of the learning. You actually give him lollies, you'll give him sweets, you'll give him money, you'll give him other rewards until he reaches a level that he understands the value of the learning itself. So too, initially, we as Jewish people have to be told, listen, you'll do the right thing, you'll get reward in this world, you'll get the rain, you'll get parnasa, and so on. Later, as we grow, as we mature, as we reach, so to speak, the oral tradition, that's when we're told, well, there's so much more on a spiritual level. So that's another perspective. Another perspective on this, in similar vein, is that when you want to prove something, you have to prove something by what people could see in front of their eyes. When it comes to the world to come, it's not something we could see. So those who want to argue, other religions tell you about all these other rewards out in other worlds, very nice, but we cannot prove it in this world. And no one's come back from there, really, to tell us about this world to come. So the Torah wants to tell us, no, it's in this world. And the Torah tells us that Hashem controls the world. And if you're going to keep Torah mitzvahs, I am going to make changes in this world for your benefit. That's a remarkable statement to make, that you can actually see in an obvious way that by behaving in the way the Torah tells you to, you are going to get absolute, it's going to impact this world. And so this also is a response to those who wanted to say that Hashem is not in control of the world, really, that the world just goes by nature and there's no intervention from up high to change things in this world. So the Torah says, no, there is absolutely intervention from up high. And one of the major examples for this is also in this week's portion, the story of Shemitah. Hashem tells us, you keep the 7th law, that you will not plant, you will not harvest your fields, and I will show you blessing. That you'll say, well, but what am I going to eat in a society whose entire society is based on agriculture? What am I going to eat on the 7th year if I have, and the 8th year really, if I haven't planted in the 7th year? So Hashem says, I'm going to bring my blessing, and the 6th year's crop will be so strong as to give you a blessing and give you sustenance for the years thereafter. So that's something that could be that's obvious. You'll see, is it true or not true? There's an amazing story told by those who went through it. In 1950s, there's a community in Israel called Komamiyot. This community was founded with a perspective, it's an agricultural community, that they're going to keep the Shemitah laws as prescribed in the Torah. There are sometimes leniencies where you can get around it. They're not getting around it. They're doing the absolute laws of Shemitah, not going to sow and plow the field in the Shemitah year. So what happened was that the year of Shemitah came in 1952, and they then built their homes. They didn't work the field, but they kind of built permanent homes for the people to be able to live there. Then the next year came, the 8th year, and the 8th year they needed seed to plant to grow the crops for the next year. But they couldn't take the seed of the 7th year because that's not okay. You can't use that seed from the 7th year. So they needed seeds from the previous year, from the 6th year or before. And where are you going to get that? No one had that. So there was a kibbutz not too far from them that had actually some wormy, seemed like spoiled seeds sitting there in a dark corner. And that was the only seed they could find. So they said to them, okay, you want, you can take it for free, no problem. They took the seed and they planted it. And they also planted it later than everybody because the planting season is right around Rosh Hashanah time. So first you have to plow, however, and you cannot plow in the sabbatical year. So they had to wait till after Rosh Hashanah to plow and to prepare the land. They only planted the seed in November. Whilst everyone else had already planted 2 months earlier. Now, remarkably, there was no rain. Rain didn't come for the beginning time of that year. And the rain actually came the day after they planted their seed in November. That's when the first rains came. And what came about through it is that everyone else's fields who were not keeping the Shemitah had a scant growth. And they had a lush, growing, an amazing, lush crop of grain that came about from this wormy seed, because that was the only seed they could find that they could grow, that they could plant in the year after Shemitah. So we saw practically and tangibly how indeed there were blessings in this world for keeping Hashem's law. And that's what Hashem says to us. You will keep my law and I will show you blessings in this world, so it could be proven in this world that as Hashem is in control of everything. But let me give you one last answer, and this is the answer given by the Rebbe. The Rebbe says the Rebbe's answer is because the Torah wants to emphasize and wants to tell us very clearly that it's not about the world to come. Yes, there is the world to come, but it's about this world. In other words, the Torah is telling us, or okay, first, let me actually give you one more answer. The answer of the Rambam. The Rambam gives his response is that the Torah is not talking about reward altogether, that it's only telling us working conditions, that Hashem is telling us, if you keep my mitzvahs, I will make your working conditions, in other words, to be able to live in this world in an easier way, so that you could keep more mitzvahs, so that you could then get the world to come. That's the Rambam's perspective. So it's not about what you reward, it's about enabling us to do more mitzvahs. And this kind of taking this line of thinking, the Rebbe goes a step further, that this teaches us that our purpose on earth is to do what Hashem wants. As the Mishnah says, I was created to serve my maker. And what does our maker want? Our maker wants for us to work in this world. The world to come is reward. Okay, they get payment, they get a salary for what we're doing. But what the maker wants is what's happening in this world. So therefore the Torah focuses on this world, not on the world to come, because tell us that this is what it's all about, and we should not lose sight of what is happening here, because this is where we achieve the purpose, our purpose, and the purpose of the entire creation. There's a story, amazing story, that happened in 1978. A fellow called Akiva Steinberg, and he was a Holocaust survivor. And he came on the day of Pesach in 1978, day after Pesach, he came to the Machnufke Rebbe in Bnei Brak, and he told him he had this terrible dream. He had this shocking dream, and he wants to ask him what he should do about it. What was his dream? He says he was in the camps, in labor camps, in the Nazi labor camps, and one of his person in the camp, a young man called Aryeh, came to him in March 1945 and told him, Pesach is coming. How are we going to have matzah? He says, crazy, labor camp, Nazis, matzah you're worried about? He says, look, we try to do what we can. Hashem will help us. Okay. So this is, of course, March 1945. The Allies are already bombing Germany. And one day they bombed the silo, which was feeding wheat to the soldiers of the German army. So once when they're walking from their labor camp back to their barracks, he sees the whole path is filled with wheat. So he bends down, he takes two handfuls of wheat, puts it in his pockets, and he has one for himself and one for Aryeh. Later, he finds two strong rocks, and he grinds the wheat. And one time they find a quiet time out in the work, and they mix the flour with water, and they make matzah, and then they stick with a nail. They stick holes in it so it perforates it so it doesn't rise. And then they made a fire in a little canister, and they put the little matzahs on top, and they made themselves matzahs. And now he's taking the matzah, taking it from the place of work back to their barracks. So he puts it under, so it shouldn't be noticed. He puts it under his shirt. But he's walking in an awkward way because he's kind of holding these matzahs with him. The guard notices it and says, "What do you got there?" And he gives him a kick to the stomach where the matzahs break and fall out. And he has to continue on without the matzah. When he gets back to his barrack, he notices that one piece of matzah, size of an olive size, so to speak, enough to be used for one person on the night of Pesach, actually survived the assault. So it comes to the night of Pesach, and now they have a piece of matzah. This Aryeh guy comes to him and he says, "Listen, I know you deserve this matzah, but I need the matzah. Please give it to me. I know you found the wheat, you baked it, you carried it, you got beaten for it, but please, really, I really feel that I need the matzah." So his face gets white. Says, "So I'll make a deal with you," says Aryeh says. "I'll eat the matzah, you get the reward." He said, "Okay." He agreed. Guy ate the matzah, he's meant to get the reward, and so it is. Unfortunately, a few days later, this Aryeh was praying on Yom Tov in devotion, and a Nazi guard sees him and shoots him dead. So this Akiva moves on, survives the war, gets to Israel. 33 years later, 1978, he has a dream. This Aryeh guy comes to him in a dream, and he says to him, "For 33 years, I am lacking the reward of that matzah. I'd like you to forgo it and give it to me." So he says, "Hold on, I did everything. I lost it all, and I'm going to give the reward away too?" So that's why he went to the Machnevke Rebbe and asked his advice. To which the Rebbe said to him, "In these 33 years, you made many thousands of blessings. You put on tefillin, you kept Shabbos, you ate matzah for 33 years. Nebuch, he doesn't have any of that. In the world to come, finished. Only the mitzvahs you have in this world. After that, he has nothing." Now he says to him, "So forgo it. Give it to him. You'll have many more opportunities for mitzvahs here in this world." Then he turns and he says, "Look at this. This man is holy. This Aryeh guy, he's holy. He was killed for being Jewish and for doing a Jewish thing. He must be at the highest levels of heaven. But it's worth it for him to come down and try to get the reward of one mitzvah. And we who live here, who have opportunities under our fingers every moment, we have such opportunities of mitzvahs, and we just let it pass, let it slip through our fingers. How precious each mitzvah in this world is. Not so much to get a reward in the world to come, but each mitzvah is important because it creates the ultimate purpose of this world, that the whole world to come does not compare to it. This explains to us also what it says in the Pirkei Avos, something strange. First, the Pirkei Avos says, this world is a hallway before a great banquet hall compared to the world to come. So what's greater, the world to come? Then it says, one moment of good deeds in this world is greater than the entire world to come. That means to say this world is greater. Then it says, right afterwards, one moment of pleasure in the world to come is greater than this world entirely. So it's going back and forth. It seems contradictory, but this is how we answer it. In terms of pleasure, yes, the world to come is greater. In terms of the benefit that we get, the world to come is greater. But in terms of our purpose and what we're here for, it's where we create a dwelling place for God, where we ultimately achieve what the purpose of our life and the life of the entire world is. So grab a mitzvah, take every opportunity. You never know what mitzvah could be so special to you. And the truth is, every mitzvah is really special. So you should resolve to add another mitzvah and another mitzvah and another mitzvah, because the value of them we might only figure out later, but they are extremely valuable to us. Shabbos.